You start slow. For example, how we were starting was you would find self-serve platforms where you can spend without limitations on how much you want. So nothing like a plugin or something where you should have big budgets already or start with large amounts, but something like Facebook, Google, where you can spend 5-10 euros a day. And this is something, if you usually want to launch, you would have some kind of savings to go, because you wouldn't just quit your job with no savings, nothing to start a company.
Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Tangent ROI 101. This is Roman from Tangent, and today I'm joined by Gunay from Gamelight. Hey Gunay.
Hi Roman, great to be here. How are you?
All good, all good. Exciting topic today. It's so hard to raise money, especially now for mobile game. This is like, I don't know how people do that now. And today we'll talk about how to run a game studio without raising money, how to launch a gaming business without raising money. Gunay, maybe a quick introduction about yourself first.
Sure. I'm Gunay. I am founder of Gamelight, which is the largest rewarded marketing platform. I am in mobile app and gaming industry since more than 10 years now. And this is my third company. I also launched 2 other companies, all still within the same app and gaming industries.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the Gamelight is the third company that I launched now.
What were the other companies? I mean, just as industries, is it
They are
tech
also
or?
mobile app, so they are not marketing related. Gamelight itself is also both B2B and B2C. So one side is B2B marketing platform, other side is B2C. So we have our own mobile apps that we publish, and the other 2 companies are just B2C. So it's mobile app companies, not.
Okay. Super. Well, yeah, then you have a good track record to talk about this.
Yeah.
Of course, Gunay prepared some slides for us. So Gunay, please share your screen.
Here we go. Okay. Should I start?
Yeah. Do it.
Okay. I mean, I already introduced myself. I can skip this. This is the awards and recognitions we got as Gamelight. Gamelight is the rewarded marketing platform, and this is just some of them. Some of them are not included, the latest ones. It's primarily for best marketing platform or best use of data. Now, how we did it, I will start with the idea. Okay, in general, I will talk about launching a company, launching a startup, and step by step what you should think about from initial to the last stage of even scaling. So first, starting with the right idea, I often also get asked if it should be something you have passion about, or should you just choose what you know. I think the best is to mix those 2 things. So not just something you have passion but have no idea. This is probably the biggest mistake I see, that people would pick the industry they're interested in, things they want to do, but they have no idea what to do. So they are learning on their own mistakes, which is fine, but it's better to do it while you work somewhere else, while you're employed somewhere else. Then you can learn there, and when you launch your own thing, you already have insights of what to do, what not to do, how the industry works, what players are there, so you don't have to now start from the scratch. Because especially if you're bootstrapped, you are quite short on time to make it work. You can't just take half year, 1 year now to learn the industry. So the best thing is to take where you have expertise, but also some passion, some interest, because if you don't have this, you will be bored after a very short time. Because if you just do what you know, but you have no interest, it will just become basically routine for you, not fun to keep growing, to keep learning in what you do. And in our case, it showed that the best is solving your own problem, so to say, because if it's a problem for you personally too, then you know what are the pain points, what would be good, what would solve the problem, so you don't have to interview people, learn from them, but you firsthand experienced everything that this industry has, and you know what needs to be changed, which we did also with Gamelight in this case. So best thing, passion plus skills. This is sustainable, this is long-term, you can continue growing, you can continue building without getting bored and without burning your company because you're just learning it. And if you have a choice, you should always choose painful problem over a cool idea, because cool idea might sound cool, you might have fun to share it with others, but painful problem has higher chance of success because it's more burning and more people would use your product in this case.
So perfect example would be I want to lose weight and I'm already working for a company that develops apps. So I know how all this works and now I do my own app around losing weight.
Yeah, that's a good
Yeah.
example. That's a very, so you have interest in this topic and you also know
Mm-hmm.
how the product works, so you can combine this.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Now, the next step would be finding a co-founder. I usually discourage anyone who wants to solo found, because I used to be a believer of solo founding, but my first company was solo founded, and I learned on my mistakes that you should never do this. If you can, you should try to find a co-founder with whom you can cover all skill set that you need, because you can outsource things, be it development or tech or business side of it, but it will be slow, it will not be as good, and your results, you are very likely then to fail, because you'll have kind of MVP version of your product within 6 months that the outsourcing finished it, and it will not be as good as if you would have something ongoing happening, which I will come later to this topic. But in general, if you can find a co-founder, try to find one, not more than 3. There will be a lot of arguments. 2 ideally, maybe 3 if needed. Tech business combo, you should have, your skill set should cover everything that you need. So for example, in our case, it was anything business related, anything tech related, back and front end, and marketing, BI, design, product, finance. This is like the core that you need initially, because if you launch an app business, you need to have some idea of this. So you can't just launch having no clue about design or no clue about BI or no clue about sales or marketing or tech or how to build. Like you have to have those minimum. And then afterwards will come more like secondary things like admin things, maybe HR, recruiting, and so on. So if you have then those skill sets, you're probably good to go. And if you need to find a co-founder, I would encourage to look among your ex-colleagues, because you already worked with them, you know their style. Because often if you find among friends, might be you get along good as friends, but once you launch the company, it might not work as well. So the best is to look among your colleagues. You already worked with them, you know their style, you know your style. Did you get along at work when you were doing projects together? And if the answer is yes, then this might be the right person. And focus always should be that when you have disagreements with each other, it should always be around what is the best solution, not about who is right, because you might feel that, oh, I can't be wrong, this is my opinion, but you should have open mind. We argued, okay, cool, but we should agree on which opinion is the best one, and then go with this. So you should be open to be wrong, and you should be fine with this, as long as the final result is correct.
Makes sense. Any other tips of actually finding outside of ex-colleagues? So, for example, let's imagine I have plenty of ex-colleagues, but I don't think they want to kind of risk it with a startup.
Yeah. You could find from friends of friends. Like I had this case too. We didn't end up launching together, but some years ago, for example, a friend who knew that I'm launching and he knew someone else who wants to launch, and we got together, we discussed things. This could be an option. I don't know how it would have worked though, because my co-founder is my ex-colleague, and I know for a fact that this is very good, and I know other people who had co-founders of their ex-colleagues for whom it worked. So you could find more like new people in your surrounding, in your circle, but it might be a bit riskier. I don't believe in those platforms where you register. It's more of like not dating. Yeah, it might work, it might not work, but like building a company is a big deal. You can't put so much effort into someone you don't know.
How important is it for you to find a person who lives in the same city as you do?
For me personally, it's quite important, but I've also noticed that with my co-founder, we don't have to be in the same city, because sometimes, for example, if I travel, it's also fine to be in different cities as long as we have enough sync calls with each other. But if you're in the same city, in the same office, in the same room, the idea flow is way faster and way more efficient. So I see a huge difference if we are actually in the same place.
Got you. Thanks.
Then, okay, here about bootstrapping and investment. Okay, you have your idea, you have your founder. Now you decide do you get investment or do you want to be bootstrapped? I think this is probably one of the most important decisions after finding your co-founder. That's probably the number one decision. If you have the right co-founder, you can build any product. If you don't have it, even the best idea and the best products might fail. After this, if you bootstrap or get investment will define how your company is going to grow. All of my companies are bootstrapped. I never had investment. Initially, I wanted to get investment with the first company, but with the latest ones, we didn't want it anymore because we saw the benefits of bootstrapping. So first of all, if you're bootstrapped, you have complete freedom of what you want to do. You don't have to report to anyone. If you decided to completely change your product or completely change the direction, you can decide it based on if you want it, and if your founder wants it, you two agreed, you are good to go. There's no need to explain any why suddenly we are completely changing everything. There is no need to delay all of this process, which is a huge speed gaining point, which I think is hyper important. Initially, though, you will be very slow because there's no money, there's no team, there is no product. It's basically 2 to 3 people sitting, grinding the work, trying to get things going. So initially you will be slow and you will have less tests going on, slower steps, but afterwards, after you reach certain point, you will become much faster than competitors, because competitors are probably at the stage when they have much larger teams. Any decision making has to be aligned with different teams and leads and meetings and get approvals, and the whole process is way slower. And if you are bootstrapped, you usually have smaller teams, faster process, and you can make decisions much faster. So you gain much faster speed in comparison with competitors. And your process stay simpler too, usually, if you are bootstrapped. Yep.
What about marketing budget when you're bootstrapped?
You start slow. For example, how we were starting was you would find self-serve platforms where you can spend without limitations on how much you want. So nothing like a plugin or something where you should have big budgets already or start with large amounts, but something like Facebook, Google, where you can spend 5-10 euros a day. And this is if you usually want to launch, you would have some kind of savings to go, because you wouldn't just quit your job with no savings, nothing to start a company. If you can spend 5-10 euros, if it works, 10, 15, 20, 100, 500, 1K, 2K. So you step by step start increasing this. But if you find those platforms, there are like a lot of them, right? Facebook, Google,
Yep.
Snapchat, TikTok also, I think, allows no AEM self-service. You can start with those.
Gotcha.
Negative sides of bootstrapping, I think the most important is the mental pressure that you get from it, because if you have an investment, there is some bigger company who stands behind you. You can have mentors, you can go for advice. If something goes wrong, maybe someone can support you and help you out. If you are bootstrapped, it's basically you and you alone. So if something goes wrong, it's just all on you and there's no one to help, basically, which is quite difficult, I would say, especially if you start growing the business and you start hiring people. Now you have this kind of responsibility because it's livelihood of people. Or if you have clients and now they invest their budgets in you, so there's a lot of pressure that you can't fail, you can't do something wrong, and can be very difficult on mental well-being. And I think for some people it might not be a good fit in general, because if you are not ready for this, you might fail. Competitive disadvantage, that if you don't have budgets, you can't just go crazy in the beginning, hire teams, build. You have to be step by step, and you might lose there initially, for sure. And you have limited opportunities to experiment, because you can't, if you have a good idea which needs thousands of euros for investment, it's very easy, right? What is thousands of euros if you have 500K, 1 million, 2 million budget? But if you bootstrap, you can't just now suddenly decide I will spend my 5K on this crazy idea and continue doing this for 10 of them. So you have to be very careful. With investments, so there are benefits which are faster scaling initially. You gain a lot of speed because you have investment to finance your ideas and your product. You have access to bigger resources and networks. Sometimes the companies that invest, they also would have things like finance team in place, recruiting team in place who would help you with this kind of stuff. Or if it's a company that always invests in app companies, they might have some creative team in place who might help you with first things. If you are bootstrapped, you don't have any of this, right? You are basically doing your own finance, your own everything. And external pressure and reporting is there too, though, because as I told you, can't just pivot from the idea and change something. You always have to report and make sure investors are happy. Otherwise, it's not going to work. Basically, it's their money that you are spending. and you might have less control over decisions. You might have an idea to do, but there might be an investor who might say, no, we are not doing this, I don't approve that. So it's like all of this you should weigh it out and see what you prefer, because for some it might be okay not to have 100% control over the decisions as long as they have the stability they get from investment. For others it might be that, no, I don't want anyone to tell me what I'm doing. I better have this risk, but I want to do what I want to do. So you have to think what would be the best for you personally.
What would you recommend for the first-time founder?
I think I'm a big believer in bootstrapping, but not for every idea. I will explain in a moment. Not every idea can be bootstrapped. But I personally believe that if you bootstrapped your company, you learn way more. Like, for example, me and my co-founder can cover every single skill in the company. So you become more independent and you understand every single thing that's happening. There's nothing like what they are doing. I'm just overviewing. You can understand everything happening. You know what's happening, and if you know the details, you have better vision on where to go because you understand the whole product and business better. I would say, for me personally, bootstrapping is better, and every next company I also bootstrapped. But if you can get an investment, it might bring more stability, because I could also see how you might break under bootstrapping pressure, because how long, it's not like after 1-2 months you're suddenly successful, right? It might take half a year, 1 year, and it's uncertainty, it's your own livelihood. So I think it depends on the person.
And in case of success, at some point you decide to get an investment. You might decide to find an investor, even if you've started bootstrapping, right?
Yeah. I think this is kind of an also important decision to make, because getting investment always is kind of glorified, that someone got 50 million.
Absolutely.
And so on. But you should think, do you actually need it, or will it slow you down potentially, because now you have some third party there also potentially making decisions with you, to whom you have to explain things, or do you actually need this money, or can you actually continue growing without that? So this is kind of a decision to make. In our case, we decided that we don't want investment, that we would rather continue growing bootstrapped without investment. But I think it's also a bit tricky, because you might be feeling that getting investment is good, but you should decide better. Yeah. Okay, there are some easy questions to ask if you want to decide on bootstrapping. So this is not about how you personally feel or something, it's purely about your business. So first of all, you must have all the skill set. I don't think you should bootstrap if you and your co-founder don't cover all the skill sets. So if you are a business and there's some other business person and you don't have a tech person, you can't say, I will outsource, I have enough savings, and I will bootstrap. It's very likely to fail, because you will just get one basic MVP, and then each iteration will be weeks and months, and you are not going to succeed with this. It's very long and it will not be optimized for your product. So you and your co-founder must cover all the skill sets. And then if you have a B2C platform, you should ask the question, are you going to be profitable with 300 users? Yes, no. If it's a yes, then you are more likely to be able to launch a bootstrap business. If it's a no, then you can't. The same is B2B. If you can be successful with 5 clients, is it a yes, you can bootstrap. Is it a no if you need like dozens, hundreds of clients to be successful, to be profitable? In this case, you can't launch. So those are like simple, easy questions to ask in the beginning when you look at your monetization model to understand that. Give me a second. Okay, here too also one thing to mention. I think I'm missing the slide for monetization, how you decide on your monetization model. So you build everything what needs to be done within the app and so on. And I see very often how people miss the point that, how they build it. I will get 100 users, they will tell other 50 users, which will tell other 100 users and so on, because my product is so amazing, it's going to go viral and it will be great. This is not the business model, right? This is just a hope that it's going to go viral, but there are like 5-6 million apps in the App Store and Google Play, and there are probably like 10 to 15 apps that ever got viral without actually paid acquisition or so on. So it's very, very, very unlikely it's going to work. And if your business model, if your monetization includes a virality element, you should completely remove it from there. There should be no virality element. No one is going to tell anyone anything. Remove completely all of it and look at the rest. are you still able to be profitable? If the answer is yes, then you can continue. It's also for investment. So like if your investment business plan, monetization business plan includes virality element, it's probably very weak, it's not good. Remove that and look at the rest. And if you are still able to be profitable, then it's a good business idea.
But if it's not excluding virality part, then it's going to be something like, okay, LTV of the user is X and the cost of user is Y, and here is a formula, right? And here is my profit. The difference is my profits, basically.
Yeah, if you are doing the performance business based, in this case, I mean, this would be good for bootstrapping. If you're on low scale and you do LTV and minus your cost and your margin is there, then you can do it. But also in general, even if you need thousands and millions of users before being profitable, your business idea, your monetization idea should be specific about what kind of products will there be, what kind of price I will ask users to pay me, if it's, for example, if it's in-app purchases, or if it's a client base, how much they're going to pay me, be realistic, but don't include things like, I don't need sales team because my product will be so great, my clients will recommend me to each other. This is very unlikely to happen. It can happen that partner tells partner, but this is not a business plan, right? It's 1 of 10 maybe. You'll tell someone else, you will get 11s, but this is not going to be...
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Then we focus a lot on lean startup methodology. This starts from the MVP. This is a common mistake I see with the first-time founders too, that they try to build an MVP that is very good, that they have a vision for the app, for example, and they see all the features how it's going to be, and they build this perfectly, and they spend like half a year on this, and then they launch and it fails because chances are very low that this one specific product that you imagined is going to fit the market. That's why also outsourcing the tech doesn't work, because they built one version of the product till the end, but without any iterations. What you should do is that take your product, remove every feature from it, and think, can I still launch it? Is it still usable, at least initially? If the answer is yes, continue removing the features until there's basically bare bones left. If you launch this, you get the very first initial feedback, and then iterate the product. What's the next feature? This is how the whole process should be, and step by step, one by one, small steps, not one big project to go. And if you can launch your MVP within a few weeks of non-stop coding, do this. Don't wait for half year of perfect product. And the decisions you made should always be based on the data you get from users and not your opinion, because your opinion is one single user. But the data you get is the opinion of all the users, not just one person. You can have direction, you can have vision, but don't go into details of how every single thing should be, because this doesn't matter what you think here. It's about what users do. And then you kill what doesn't work and go to the next idea and the next. So you should iterate as much as you can with new product features.
How do you get to like statistical significance when you test those things out?
Yeah, initially it's hit or miss, to be honest. More you grow, more you're like, how was I making decisions based on this little data? But it's better than nothing. I still think if you have only 100, 200 users and some numbers that make sense, it's better to rely on them than not on them. Because if there's a huge difference, you will see. If there's not huge difference, maybe it doesn't matter, then the next idea anyways.
Gotcha.
About data-driven approach, so what I mentioned, you're most probably going to be wrong, and what users think matters more. And as a founder, you should focus on the whole direction of the company and the vision that you have, not every small detail of the product that you do. I also often hear how you should listen to users and see what they're saying and so on, which might be good, but in my opinion, this is extra noise that is there, because usually people that are louder, it's just a minority, it's a smaller share of users that are very loud. So if you just listen to them, you will think all of your users think this way. But it might only be maybe 3 to 5% of the users. But if you look at data, you will see what all of your users actually do. So not what small minority is saying, but what everyone else is doing. And your data, the decisions should be based on this. Less about what everyone's saying, what reviews are saying, what they are writing you, and more about data. This might be a bit controversial, Some people say you should always read the reviews and do what they're saying, which I don't believe, because I think this actually might take you in the wrong direction. You might end up building a product that's good for small percentage of large users, and not what would actually be successful 100%. And one hot take I have here, me and my co-founder don't really do calls. This was not an initial decision that we had, but we just realized step by step that it's useless and it creates false sense of achievement. And I think it's very important for founders to understand this feeling, because what happens, you are a new founder, some other founder writes you, hey, let's discuss ideas, la la la, I want to hear what you think, I will share my ideas, or some service providers or clients, and everyone wants to have calls with you, and you start feeling important, because like most founders, they have like higher level of ego, they want to feel good, they have their company, and now they go to a call and everyone sees, those people that you are successful and so on. But then you start focusing on those things, how great you are and how cool you are, and not actually doing the product. Especially if you are bootstrapped, you should focus on making your product better and growing your company, not going to calls and feeling good about yourself. So after some time, we decided with my founder that we will not have calls. We will actively reject calls, try to be nice about it. You don't have to be rude, but don't have calls unless you personally think it's important and you can't easily do it over email, that there's a lot of brainstorming involved, maybe discussion involved, then you do calls. And everything else we basically reject, so that you can focus more on your actual goals and not what feels good, so to say, as a founder.
Is it the rule for everyone in the company or between the co-founders?
It is between the co-founders, for sure. For the rest of the company, we discourage them to have many calls. But for example, for some positions like business development, account management, they have to have calls, because it's relationship with partners. So for them, it's the opposite. Have as many calls as you can, build a relationship. For the rest, we discourage, but they can have with each other. We don't have calls. Neither team much, neither with partners or clients or service providers.
To be a devil's advocate, you probably block out some time for focus work, because the messaging can like last, especially if it's some sort of debate, it will go for a whole day. Do you kind of turn off your Slack or, I don't know, the messengers that you use, like between 9 to 12, and you do a focus work, or what do you do?
For me, it's the opposite. For me, most time is focus work, and then I designate a couple of hours to answer messages. I believe that if you're bootstrapped, founders are often the main force that are driving things, and if you stop doing it, it's very easy to stop doing it, because the other ones are also work, right? It's not like you don't work when you answer messages, or you don't work when you answer Slack and so on. This is also work. But if you start focusing too much on this, you will start losing the direction that you have. So what I do, I have focus work most of the time, and then every day, a couple of hours I designate to answer chat, to answer Slack, emails, to get back to people that wrote. And then this way I can align it better.
Right. Makes sense.
Yeah. And shortly about benefits of no calls. Because if you have calls, you have to schedule, hey, what time fits you at this time? Can you do this and this? And then schedule for like 3-4 days in the future, when it could have been now. So you actually have been several days to get things done. It's also more precise and not memory based. For example, someone might say something, they might mean something differently, or maybe they misspoke, or they used a different word, or you just remembered it wrong. Suddenly you have a wrong understanding of what you discussed, which wouldn't happen in writing, because it's right there, and people usually think a bit better before writing down, that sentence are better structured, that what they wrote what they meant. And you can always refer back to this, like even if half year, 1 year, you need some details of something that happened, you can just Google and check it and find it, which can't happen with notes. Like you will probably lose your notes after 1 year after the call. So all in all, I'm a strong believer that it's better not to have calls than have calls if you want to focus on growing.
I have one more question about your focus time. Yeah. What have you worked on in Gamelight, let's say last week, or whatever focus tasks that you've been doing, like the most recent one.
Yeah, I don't know how much I can share. Usually, my focus tasks involves less partners and more product related because it's
Data? Do you
actually
look into data or?
also data. I'm responsible also for the data, but also new product features that we are building. That's what we do a lot with my co-founder. So we have to discuss all of this a lot and focus a lot. So if I can't just answer someone, come back to this, I need like 15 minutes to get my mindset back to this. So it has to be like
Yes, yes.
focus.
Yeah, yeah.
It's primarily, I would say, product BI related things.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Yeah. It's actually, I think, so important because I feel like most people do what you mentioned, this focus time. But if you do non-communications type of work, it should be the opposite. It should be everything is focused and you have few hours of communication time. Unless you do like partner relationship or something, then obviously it's vice versa.
Yeah, and the time of the day matters a lot for me.
Yeah. Is it mornings or evenings?
Morning is the most productive time. Like when I'm really onto something, I would also check my messages very late.
Yeah.
And I work on the stuff just to get more because in the evening it's hard to be very productive for me.
For me, it's very early in the mornings or late evenings after like 9 p.m. Sometimes I notice I start doing something and suddenly it's like 3 a.m. or something. I'm like, I have to go to work in some hours, but
Jeez.
like, you completely get lost because there are no distractions, no one's calling, writing,
Right.
nothing's happening. You can just
Yeah.
focus on that.
Okay. Good point.
Yeah, and to finalize all of this together, you should have, first the right idea that involves your interest and also expertise, which is very important. Finding the right co-founder with whom you get along and also have complementary skill sets. Build the right monetization model without virality, but something that you can precisely evaluate if it's going to work for you. Build a lean startup structure based on data and not the opinions. Launch your MVP as fast as you can without and make iterations afterwards without first building it for a very long time, and make all of your decisions based on data. And then once you have all of this, if you're performance based, it's very easy to scale because you'll have the product that works.
Got you. I have one final question. It's 2025 and the AI is changing like everything. What would you indicate that is changing for founders that are bootstrapping?
It's amazing, I think. It's going to replace a lot of people that you need to hire, especially if you're bootstrapped. You don't hire, initially you outsource, you try to get
Yeah.
service providers, and now you can probably pay like $15-20 a month and get a creative production and someone who will write amazing text for you for your app, maybe even start coding because they're like very good AI coders too. So it's, I think, so good, and it might enable more people to bootstrap their company. I think if we would have all of those tools, we would probably be even way faster initially. Like I wouldn't, for example, I had to learn video editing skills because we needed video for our first creatives and none of us could do. Now you probably wouldn't need this. You could do some better videos with AI than I would do it myself with the tools that I learned initially. So it would, I think, it would enable more people that could bootstrap.
Nice. Yeah, absolutely makes sense. Yeah, I wanted also to ask something about AI, but I forgot. Anyway, I will leave my question to Gunnar in the comments once I remember. So I urge everyone to leave their questions in the comment section of this video. Thanks so much, Gunnar. We'll leave all of the links in the description of this video, like a link to Gamelight, your LinkedIn account, I guess, if you're active on LinkedIn. Anything else that we want to mention before we wrap up?
Not from my side. Great talking to you.
Yeah. Then thanks. Until next one.
Thank
Cheers.
you. Ciao.
Bye-bye.